Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Greenlam Industries Limited Q1 FY 22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on the date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Saurabh Mittal, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Greenlam Industries Limited. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Mittal.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you all. I hope you're all keeping safe and healthy. On the call, I'm joined by Ashok, our CFO, Samarth from the finance team, and SGA, our investor relations advisors. The results and presentations are available on the stock exchanges and our company websites, and I hope you've had a chance to look at them. So on this call, I will first focus on what's happened in the last quarter, and then with just general direction on how we see things in the market right now and how we see things in the business for the balance period of the year. So in quarter one, as you probably have seen, in our core category of laminates, we have been largely able to be similar production levels of Q4. So the factories have done at 110% utilization. The drop on sequential basis in quantity has been shy of 2%, which I think in this environment has been very satisfactory to us. While sales have been minus in laminates by about 15% and overall our revenues are lower by about 19% on a sequential basis. Obviously, the year-on-year numbers are far different and far better, and Ashok will take you through those details. On the production and sales, we have not been able to convert approximately 30 crores worth of sales while we ended up producing those goods, and the gap of production and sales is largely backed up with orders which comprise of the international orders and comprise the domestic orders, which has been due to the non-availability of containers, with inventory at the ports increasing vis-a-vis what was in end of March, and in domestic too, markets opened up a bit late, so dispatches have happened for certain items, and for certain items dispatches have happened in the month of July. So that's where the gap is of production and revenue recognition. On the raw material side, raw material costs continue to remain high, and in quarter two, we see raw material costs higher than in quarter one. And I think the inflationary trend on the raw material is continuing. As we see things now, overall RM costs are still going up. We have been able to largely take entire increase in the domestic laminate market. In the international markets, there was some pending price increases which we've effected now, so they will start showing in partially this month, partially next month, and over the next 3-4 months, we will be able to charge the customers for entire RM costs in the international market too. Incremental sea freight was already passed up from the month of January. On the wood business also, we've seen raw material cost increase in base ply, veneer, sea freights, etc., where all necessary price increases have been passed on to customers. So as we talk right now, besides certain international price increases, which have also been done, which will start showing in our books from this month onwards, more or less we've been able to pass on the entire RM cost to the market. On the working capital side, the debtors have been reasonably well managed, so we've been by and large under control on the debtors despite the 6 to 8 weeks of lockdown in India across various parts. On the inventory side, The finished goods inventory, like explained earlier, has gone up, which will get corrected within this month, or rather at most within this quarter. On the raw material inventory, there's been an increase in the raw material inventory too, which is a function of price increases in terms of, so the value has increased, and quantities have also increased because productions for the wood veneer business and some parts of laminate was also lower, which too we think that within this quarter we should be able to streamline. So really not much stress on the working capital side too. So in this quarter, by and large, all expenses were there for the company, besides certain fixed overheads like traveling, etc., which couldn't happen because markets were shut. We continued with our marketing programs in certain markets. We continued with our recruitment plans. We implemented the salary increases, which have partially been absorbed in Q1 and balance will be absorbed in quarter 2. So that's on the business side. On the demand side, on the domestic market, we think the residential demand will improve as things move ahead. July looks to be a okay month for us. I think things are kind of coming back to normalcy. On the international markets, certain markets, there's still lockdowns or partial lockdowns in Southeast Asia. Some parts of the markets are showing extremely good demand, like the European markets, the UK market, the US market. So I think it's a mixed bag. Certain markets look good, certain are still having their own challenges. We also see that there will be a shift from unorganized to organized, and we clearly see the regional unorganized players under tremendous pressure because of cost increases, lockdowns, challenges of supply chain, disruption on the demand side. And we think this is an opportunity where we can take more market share, and the industry will move towards further or improved consolidation. So by and large, we think we are in decent grip and control on the business, and the gaps of production and sales will be overcome, will largely be overcome in this quarter, and we should kind of correct our debt position also. Debts went up, or net debt went up by about 90 odd crores in Q1 because we had to put capital. Purchases kept happening, production continued while we couldn't convert production into sales, and the mix of domestic and international also got a bit altered. We think all of that, by and large, barring any unforeseen circumstances, should get streamlined within this quarter. So that is it from my side at the moment. I will hand over the call to Ashok. Ashok will take you through the financial performances, post which we'll be happy to address queries. Ashok, over to you.
Good evening, friends. I'll take you through the financial performance for the quarter. For the Q1 FY22, on a consolidated basis, net revenue stood at 336 crore, a growth of 110% on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of around 19% on a sequential basis. Gross profit stood at 154 crore, a growth of 93% on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 24% on a sequential basis. Gross margin stood at 45.9%, a degrowth of 380 basis points on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 280 basis points on a sequential basis. EBITDA stood at 38.2 crore, a growth of 386% on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 43% on quarter-on-quarter basis. EBITDA margin stood at 11.4%, a growth of 650 basis points on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 480 basis points on quarter-on-quarter basis. Net profit stood at 17.3 crore as against a net loss of 7.7 crore in Q1 last year. PAT margin stood at 5.2%. Moving on to segmental performance. Firstly, the laminate and allied products, which form around 92% of our quarter one sales. Laminate revenue stood at 310 crore in this quarter, a growth of 113% on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 15% on a sequential basis. Domestic laminate revenue grew by 148% on year-on-year basis in value terms, and a growth of 135% in volume terms. On a sequential basis, domestic laminate revenue degrew by 36% in value terms and degrew by 35% in volume terms. International laminate revenue grew by 97% on year-on-year basis in value terms, and a growth of 112% in volume terms. On a sequential basis also, international laminate revenue grew by 3.6% in value terms and same in volume terms. EBITDA margin stood at 13.3%, a growth of 490 basis points on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 460 basis points on quarter-on-quarter basis. Production volume were at 4.28 million sheets and at a utilization level of 110%. Sales volume for the quarter stood at 3.82 million sheets, and our average realization for the quarter was 782 rupees per sheet. Moving on to another segment, decorative veneer and allied segment, which constituted around 8% of this quarter sales. This segment includes wood veneer, engineered floors, and engineered doors. In the decorative veneer segment, revenue for this quarter stood at 12.2 crore, a growth of 95% on year-on-year basis, and a degrowth of 62% on quarter-on-quarter basis. We are witnessing sequential uptick in our veneer business, which was down in the first quarter. The capacity utilization for the quarter stood at 16%. Sales volume for the last quarter stood at 0.16 million square meter. Average realization stood at 750 rupees per square meter. Moving on to another product, engineered wood flooring. Floors revenue for this quarter stood at 7.4 crore, a growth of 121% on year-on-year basis. However, the capacity utilization was at 11%. In terms of engineered doors, revenue grew by 35% and stood at 7 crore. Capacity utilization for the quarter stood at 20%. Net debt has gone up by around 90 crore and stood at 213 crore as against 123 crore at the end of March 21. Net working capital for this quarter stood at 101 days as against 64 days at the end of quarter 4 FY21. That's all from our side. I would now like to open the floor for question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Thank you. The first question is from the line of Sneha Talreja from Edelweiss Securities. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir, and thanks a lot for the opportunity. Couple of questions from my end. Firstly, it's related to margins. So we have seen a QOQ drop in margins. Just wanted to understand the key reasons. Firstly, it could be due to volume decline. And how much was it due to raw material cost decline and how much could be due to product mix change? And is there a big difference between export margin and domestic margins currently?
So, Sneha, on the margin, one, as you have seen, there's been a volume decline. The value mix of the production and sales have been lower or weaker in Q1 versus what should have been. So realization in Q1 per sheet has been the same as, largely same as what we did in Q4, while we did take an increase in the month of April. So that did not reflect on the margins. The conversion of production to sales also did not happen of that value. So I think that also is showing up on the margins at the EBITDA level, right? And certain RM costs in the export market could not be passed on to customers or could not get affected, which will get affected from July onwards. So to my mind, I think it's a combination of all of this, all of these factors has contributed to lower gross margin, and because of overall revenue being lower, the wood veneer business also being lower, and while most of these fixed expenses of employees, administration, etc., being there, has affected to the lower EBITDA margin also. So if you imagine only if 35 crores of produced inventory would have got sold, and that would have added approximately 12 to 15 crores of EBITDA only of this, of the items which produced. If the value mix would have been better and the markets were open. So I think we would have had a normalized or near normalized margin. That's our view. Yeah.
Right. And secondly, the differential between the export market margins and the domestic margins, since you said there are certain components which were not passed on, to say to assume that export margins would be slightly lower than the domestic market?
So if you look at, again, and we've said this in the past, it depends on the time and the mix, currency situation. So clearly now in this quarter, even the even the domestic mix, got a bit worsened versus what was there in Q3 and Q4, because most of the urban markets were also shut, and they are the largely 1 millimeter markets. So on a consolidated basis, it could be possible that in Q1 export margins were slightly lower than domestic margins, because entire increases could not get passed on. So really, I think yes.
All right, got it. Sir, thanks for that. Second question was related to, one was related to your export growth momentum. So despite all these lockdowns, container availability issues and shipment issues, you have been seeing growth in the exports market. What is the normalized level of export growth rate that you see over the years? Maybe you can give a CAGR growth rate for 3-4 years, assuming that there are no, these issues are not continuing. And I'll just follow it up with the other question which is related to this.
Yeah. So, Ashwini, can you give the last 3 years export growth? So if you see FY 2019, 20, and 21, I think last year we grew, entire international business grew by, total value. See the international business. I think going ahead, this year probably export growth obviously will be higher because last year we lost 1 quarter. So I think this year moving at anything between 10 to 12% value growth you can expect. So if I look at last year, FY 21, one second, international business, one second, international business.
FY 21, your international business was flat volume-wise.
So CAGR for 10 years of international business coming to 18.6%.
Oh.
And 5 years is 6%. Yeah. But you don't have the wood veneer business. I think going ahead, you can take a 10-12% growth.
Which will be higher than the domestic market is what we wanted to understand.
Yeah. Second, please.
Which will be higher than the domestic market is what we understand.
Not necessarily, because I said, we're also seeing this shift from unorganized to organized. Yeah. So our guess is both the businesses will grow, the domestic and international businesses. Yeah.
Right. Got that. Sir, one last question before I come for the follow-up. Sir, you mentioned that, both the businesses, assuming they will grow by 10 to 12%. Your peers basically have been looking at various capacity expansion. Let's say Merino has announced capacity expansion in related businesses. Xylem recently announced it in particle board businesses. And from you also, we have heard that, you will be looking at capacity expansions in other related categories, but you haven't, categorically come out with which category. Any call taken on that? And I'm sure that the team would be working on it. By when can we, get something, and what kind of a category could it be? It could be how related category?
So, we are putting up this plant in Andhra Pradesh. There we have announced capacity expansion of laminates of 2 lines. And
Right.
I cannot comment on the other questions you have at the moment, because we would like to be much more clear and firm before we come to you. But yes,
Sure.
we will be looking at more opportunities in laminates itself and in adjacent categories.
Sure. And where does the AP plant capacity expansion stands at, and by when are we expecting the completion?
So the land, etc., the registrations which didn't happen earlier has happened.
Right.
And as we see things now, this last leg of some approvals are pending. So we hope to start building the plant sometime in the third quarter of this financial year. And I think from the construction date to commercial production should be about 12 odd months.
Got that, sir. That was helpful, sir. And all the very best.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Faisal Hawa from HG Hawa and Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is regarding the digital channels. Are we actively pursuing any kind of sale through digital channels, and how do you feel that this sector could really come up for you, given the fact that many of the customers want to touch and feel kind of an approach? And the second is, are we planning to export to more countries also? And do we have anything in terms of a research and development budget? And if so, how much are we spending in terms of percentage of revenue?
So as far as the digital channel point is, we are working with e-com companies who are doing design services, design and build services, like doing kitchens, doing wardrobes, and they are promoting the laminate as part of their collection, where designers and customers can choose the laminate, and they fabricate it in the OEMs and then they sell to the customer. So we are not directly selling a laminate through a digital channel, but we have aligned with several of these e-com furniture companies who are supplying a service to the customer with interiors or specific furniture objects. So that is something which is being pursued. Your second question on exports to more countries. At the moment, we think we're already quite well spread, and we're not necessarily focusing on adding more countries. The focus now is to really build more depth in these markets, and there is an opportunity across most of the markets we're present in to increase both volume and value mix sales. Right. The next question was on the R&D part of it. So in the laminates business, there are 2 kinds of R&D. One is the resin technology, which is the chemistry, and other is the design development part. So design development, which is working with designers, builders, place producers, doing sampling of products, showing it out to architects, IDs, both domestically and internationally. So that's an ongoing process. We don't necessarily account for that as R&D. So that's more like a marketing expense, or a routine product development expense. On the resin part, we do some R&D, but the chemistry or the formulation changes are not significant in our industry. So we have come up with certain products in the past, like the antivirus, antibacterial, HD gloss, high scratch, but it doesn't require too much of capital on those R&Ds as far as the chemistry part is concerned.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Achal Lohari from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. My first question is, can you help us understand on a YOY basis, what is the cost inflation in each of the raw material components, in terms of the design paper, craft paper, and chemicals?
So I will ask Ashok Krishna.
Yeah. So Achal, if you see in terms of in the chemical, we have 3 types of chemical, as you know, that phenol, melamine, and methanol. On a YOY basis, it will range from, let's say, 30-35%, to some of the chemical has gone up to like 70-80% also. And in terms of kraft and base paper, since the rate will keep varying depending upon the mix what we do. But in the base paper, what we safely presume that it has gone up by around 8-10%. In one or two paper or few paper, it will be lower or higher. In the kraft paper, again there are range of kraft paper being used. So mix of that will keep changing. On a console basis of all kraft paper put together, it has gone up by around 3.5-4%. But in the individual segment, it can be somewhere around 8-10% again.
And would it be possible to give broad sense in terms of what is the mix typically in terms of how much would be kraft paper of the total raw material cost, how much will be base paper and the chemicals?
So Achal, sorry, I'm just coming into the conversation. So certain kraft papers have also gone up over 30-40%. Yeah. So it depends on the category one is using. Yeah. On the mix,
Right.
You can safely assume of the RM cost, 1/3 is kraft, 1/3 deco paper, 1/3 chemicals. But some changes might have happened now with the chemical costs shooting up. So let me see what the current math is.
Actually, yeah, sorry, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you can safely assume, for ease of back of the envelope calculation, 1/3 kraft paper, 1/3 all specialty paper, 1/3 chemicals.
Right. So it basically means, the RM cost inflation up to say about 15% on a YY basis. So, how much of that is already passed on, and have we taken any price increase? Sorry, I missed the introductory remarks, but yeah, if you could comment how much price increase have we taken in the current quarter, and cumulatively what price increase have we taken in last 1 year?
So, of the RM cost which has gone up, Achal, some with some value engineering, cost controls, yield improvements, value mix improvements are getting negated or will get negated. On the price increases, like we said, in domestic market, we have largely taken the entire RM cost increase. We've passed on the entire increase to the market. In the international markets, two things have happened. Besides the raw material cost increase, the sea freight increase has also been significant. So on one side, there's been a raw material cost increase, and because the shipping contracts are CIF or CNF, the sea freight increase has been substantial. So in the international markets, what we've done, all incremental sea freights as on January 21 have been passed on to the customers. Right? So that's been done into 100%. On the sales prices, one round of increases were done by March 21. Another approximately 2-2.5% increase has also been communicated, and that will start getting effective starting July 21 up to maybe September. So we are hoping that with some value mix improvement, value engineering at the plant, sea freight increase already being passed to the customers, and the 2 rounds of increases, by and large, will be able to cover up the RM cost increase. For certain commodity items of exports, we may not be able to cover up the entire RM cost increase.
And would it be fair that one of the reasons possibly for the first quarter margin contraction was to do with the sea freight, given how much of the total exports are CIF basis, sir, broadly?
So by and large, you can assume that over 90%, 80-85% is CIF or CNF, but this increase has already been the incremental increase on sea freight have already been to the customers starting Jan 21. So the margin drop is not due to sea freight; it's due to the mix, production mix, unabsorbed overheads, lower production in little bit lower production laminates and the veneer business. So I think it's a mix of all of this, not really sea freight in terms of the export part of it.
Sure. And if I may, follow up on that, in terms of how do we look at this margins from given the price increase and the other cost optimization measures we would be taking, how do we look at the margins from an annual perspective, for the laminate business and also the other business?
So it's very hard to say because as we talk right now, raw material costs are on the upward trend still, right? And not all raw materials, some specific chemicals are still inching upwards. So very difficult to say that very clearly. So our strategy will be to maximize volumes, keep focus on the value mix, right? Pass on the increases which we've already done, get that impacted, at the earliest possible. We have visibility of raw material costs at least for the next 3 to 4 months, and they don't seem to be softening or even stabilizing for that matter. So actually in Q2, which is this quarter, RM costs are going to be higher than Q1, right? But we have adequate opportunities on improving value mix in both exports and domestic market, and that's where we're going to be focused on. So improving value mix, driving volumes, which will, and the price increases we've already impacted in the market. So that's the way we're going to move ahead, actually.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much. I'll come back in the queue for more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to all the participants to ask a question. You may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Rishikesh Bhagat from Kotak Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So my first question is, what is the volume on your flooring and door business in current quarter in Q1, and what was it say in Q4 compared to that?
Yeah.
Sales volume.
Yeah, Rishikesh. This engineered door was 44,800 in terms of this quarter, and it was one moment. And it was 44,800 for the quarter 4, and for this quarter it was 23,400 square meters. And for the doors, this quarter was 5,300, and for the quarter 4 it was around 8,000.
Quarter 4 was how much? Sorry,
8,000.
8,000. Okay. Okay. The other question is related to this container freight issues and logistics challenges. I understand it has been for a fairly long time and it's a global issue. But at margin compared to say last year, have you seen those challenges easing out, or those continues to remain at the same level on the container freight availability?
Container freights are not necessarily worsening as we see now, but they still continue to remain high. Container availability, I have feedback from my team that the response looking okay, but I still think for certain destinations, especially for Latin America and North America, the challenges continue.
Okay. And just on from the to earlier participant regarding this value mix, in the sense in domestic market now, as we have seen markets opening up for quite a few states, is our mix between say 0.7 and 1 mm back to what it was used to be in earlier times, or do you think it's still that 0.7 mm still remains fairly heavy in the overall value mix?
No, so 0.7 was never heavy in our setup.
No, I understand, but I think you had launched a folder in 0.7 mm last year.
So we did. I'm just saying the mix. So 0.7 was never very heavy. It was a very small. It is a very small part of our mix. So has it gone back to normalcy? As we talk right now, you could assume it's very close to normalcy. I would not say if you assume if Q4 was normal or Q3 was normal. So you can. So we are around the corner. We're very, very close to it. And the way it seems, I think we'll get there very soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gaurav Agarwal from Barhead Investments. Before that, we'd like to remind the participants to ask a question. You may please press star and one. Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sir, a couple of questions. So if I understand, in this quarter, you have done 110% of capacity utilization. And what is in our work in progress in terms of greenfield expansion, that's around 10% of our overall capacity. So beyond this, how do you intend to, grow yourself? Maybe not in FY23 or FY22, but let's say in FY24.
I'm so sorry. So is the question about utilization and new capacities being added on? I think the voice was...
Okay. Is my voice clear now?
जी थोड़ा सा muffled सा. Anyway, बताइए. Please go ahead.
Let me just 1 minute. Yeah. So sir, what I'm asking is, you are adding 10% of capacity on your current base, and already we are running at 110% capacity utilization.
Correct.
So at this 10%, I think it will come by the end of this year, which will take care of the growth in FY23. But what about, when we look at let's say years like FY24, 25, how do you plan to grow yourself for those years?
So currently, like in Q4, our capacity utilization was about 112%, and we can go up to, with our experience of the past, we can go up to like 115 odd % utilization. Okay. We bought 65 acres of land in Andhra Pradesh, where we've announced expansion of 2 lines. So that's something which will help us, support the growth in the market and our market share expansion. And we are actively considering to review that expansion plan on whether we should add more capacity. And since the land is quite large, we can continue doing brownfield expansion like we've done in the past, right? That you start with 2 or 3 lines, and every year, the incremental capex is very small, and your incremental margins and incremental revenues is significant. So with that location, we can expand capacities over a period of time. And we've left so much provision while designing the plant in terms of equipment, space, etc.
Got it. So, sir, greenfield expansion is 175 crores for 1.5 million capacity. So let's say in terms of brownfield, we want to put a similar capacity of 1.5 million. So how much incremental capex would we need to incur there?
So typically, in the past, it has been around 25 to 30 odd crores. Now with increased steel, cement, capex prices, it might go up a bit more. But normally, one production line, brownfield, depending configuration, should be in the band of, at this moment, I think it should be 30-35 crores maybe.
Yeah. Gaurav, there is a small difference between what we've done in the past as a brownfield and what we are doing as a greenfield. So in the past, we have had the dimension of these sheets are different. So these are 2 press lines, and what sir has said, so the 1 press line normally, it will depend upon what dimension you are putting. 1 press line normally gives 2 million capacity, which you have done in the past 2-3 times. And for which right now the cost will be somewhere around 30-35 crore rupees. And these are the 2 lines, but since it's a greenfield unit, so that's why it is costing slightly higher.
No, so that's okay. I was only intending to ask, the incremental capex for, the brownfield one in Andhra Pradesh. So I got the answer. It's 30-35 crore for 1.75 million sheets, right?
That will depend upon again the dimension and whether it's a sheet or board. Normally in the past we have put 1 line which was the capacity is around 2 million sheets, and since these are bigger dimension and these are mostly board will be there instead of sheet, that's why it is coming higher, coming lower. The capacity seems to be lower, but the sales value will be similar or higher than what you normally put on plant.
Okay. Sir, I'm sorry, I'm asking another question on this. So this 35 to 40 crore that you said, so what is the context? Like for how many sheets or for what kind of revenue can it do for 30-40 crore of capex? This brownfield.
So again, with this capex capacity can you put in, is it?
Yeah.
Volume.
Or how much when we can.
Volume, approximately, you can assume this will generate about 2 million sheets a year on a thumb rule, right? And this can generate 2 million into the pricing of
Got it.
750, 800.
2 million. So the number you gave me is for 2 million. Okay.
Yeah, approximately in that range.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you start the mix, yes.
Sure. And so on the international side, if you could explain, what are the key markets, not for you, but for the India as a sector, as a laminates producer, which are the key markets for us? How has been the overall, exports market for India, for Indian laminates been doing? Since, there is another company, which has recently raised PE money and, they have big plans to, export from India these laminate products. So if you could, give some light on what are the opportunity sizes, how is it growing, which countries are we competing with, whether we have gained some competitive advantage over the years. So anything which you can, share with us.
Sure, sir. Sure, Gaurav. Gaurav, these are questions which will require more time and interaction. So
yeah, sir, we can take it offline. That's okay.
We can touch base independently, and then
sure,
we can
sure.
discuss in detail.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to all the participants to ask a question. You may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Amit Zare from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, team, and congrats for good set of numbers. So my question was follow up to the earlier question on our competitive side in export markets. So basically, when we have seen these issues of container non-availability or say hike in sea freight rates, so has that impacted our competitiveness in the export market vis-a-vis other competition? Has that impacted and has that impacted the overall demand as well, sir?
So actually, as we talk, the export demand looks quite healthy to us. And I think in the last few months, there's been a lot of disruption in the international markets due to raw materials not being available. So many other markets have also gone through their own challenges of COVID, of shutdowns, like Malaysia was shut, Indonesia was shut, some parts of Europe were partially open, Latin America was shut for a while. So I think there's been so much of disruption globally. Several international producers, actually one of the most important ones in Europe declared force majeure. They didn't have melamine for a while. So I think that the disruption is not just limited to India. It's happening worldwide. So on the demand side, actually demand is quite strong, if I may actually say that to you. So the export demand is quite strong, and it has not altered the demand situation in the international markets.
So maybe you're trying to say that supply side constraints are still there. Maybe they are different for different exporters. For we are facing container availability, but other exporters are facing other challenges. So that's why supply is getting impacted. Is that fair?
So supply side, yeah. So yes, and to add, supply side disruption is not only limited to Indian producers. It's global phenomena. So producers in Europe, Southeast Asia, Latin America, US are also facing supply side disruptions. So that's one. As far as Greenlam is concerned, our inventory position, availability of material, etc., has been well managed, by our teams, and we don't have much challenges. On the container availability, it's not as if no containers are available. So we have our Q1 exports, international business has been higher than Q4 despite these challenges. So we want to impress upon the fact that our numbers would have been even more superior had the issue not been there. So it's not as if the numbers are reducing or something in that sort. Q1 overall international business has grown by about, I think it's 4%, right? If you add
yes.
3%. So this could have been higher by approximately, you can assume 250, so approximately by about $3 million business. But on the 25 odd crores, we could have recognized as revenues. We had the orders, we produced them, So this is what we're trying to explain.
Got it, sir. So our competitiveness has not impacted as such, is what we are trying to say, right?
No, I would say our company has improved rather than worsened. Yeah.
Okay, got it, sir. Thanks. That's all from my side. So thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to all the participants, to ask a question, you may please press star and one. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, Saurabh and Ashok. So what was... Yeah, how are you, sir? Yeah. Yeah. What was the export revenue in the overall consolidated sales or international revenue in the sales in the quarter?
206, Bhavin.
206?
Yeah.
Okay. And regarding expansion plans in AP, I just missed out. You said that the land purchase has already happened, right? And
Yes, Bhavin.
and equipment ordering and that is it. So what's the roadmap or the timelines now?
So, Bhavin, as we see things now, we are hopeful to start building the plant sometime in Q3 of this year. We have announced that we are setting up 2 production lines, which we are actively reconsidering on whether we should add, maybe 1 more production line there. So if we start the construction of plant sometime in Q3, from the date of starting the plant, you can assume at least 12 months to get into production.
So basically, it's a quarter. So Q3 FY22, maybe 12 months.
Yes.
And
Q3 of FY23.
and probably in couple of months, you'll decide whether you're going ahead with 2 lines or 3 lines.
That is correct, Bhavin.
Okay. And if I recollect, so land cost was 50 crores and the overall other plant related cost was 125. This is 175 crore project, right?
That is correct, Bhavin. The land cost obviously was not only limited to 3 lines because it's 65 acres, so this will get a portion over more lines and possibly, some adjacent category of products also, Bhavin.
Sure.
So you're right on your numbers, sir.
Okay. And apart from this, we are not doing any other capital expenditure in the decorative veneer and allied. That will be normal maintenance.
So decorative veneer and allied business don't need any capital. Rather, we are working towards reducing a little bit of streamlining a little bit of the working capital, but it does not require any capital expenditure. The last leg of certain construction at one of the factories is pending, which is going on. Otherwise, existing plants will consume routine capex of plates and some heating equipment and some routine capex. That's about it.
Okay. And so July sales, has it normalized to the 100% run rate, or you say 90% run rate?
So July
Domestic sales, I'm saying.
So July sales, domestic, the laminate business is on 100% normal run rate. The wood veneer business is also significantly up. You can assume that's like at a 80% kind of level.
And the last one on the engineered wood flooring and doors, would we achieve break even by Q3, Q4? What's the internal target there?
So I think we've been falling short on our words in this category. It's each time we think we're just so close to it. Even this quarter, we've done floor and door put together what? 14.35 crores of sales, and the loss actually in losses 2.5 crores. 2.5 crores of EBITDA loss we had in Q1. So obviously we wanted to happen the earliest, but it's just like it's there yet not there types,
So we should be soon be reaching. Okay. And yeah, laminate capacity utilization in many quarters. So existing capacity also we have operated over 100%. I think the maximum number I saw was 112% in
March. So technically, this 15.6 million can produce how much on an annual basis?
Bhavin, that depends on so many factors, but I think
Yeah,
the run rate we had in
obviously the range,
Q4,
assuming a normal, assuming there is a business across product segment or a demand revives, so that 15.6 can
we
go
can maintain Q4's utilization level and even better it by a few percentage. So we can go up to, let's you can assume 115 types, Bhavin.
115. So yeah, 15.6 million can roughly give, say, 16.5 million sheets. That would be the peak potential. Actually, it should be more. If I see the Q4 run rate, it can be higher because I see 4.4 in the March. So if I annualize that number, technically it can give you just under 18 million.
So I think just under 18 will be a stretch number, but yes, a doable number.
Oh. Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhavin.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arun Baid from BOB Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. You did mention that you will get into adjacent categories over a period of time. So do we have some timelines by which we can expect when this will come through?
So I don't think we can comment much on that moment, but yes, we are actively reviewing the possibilities and studying the opportunities here.
So can we see it by end of this financial year, sir, FY22?
I just said I can't put timeline to it.
I don't think it's difficult for us to comment as of now. We are working on various things which management as a part of investment strategy does. Once we finalize the plan, we will get back to the market soon.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Reminder to all the participants to ask a question. You may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Achal Lohade from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the follow-up opportunity. I think you did address the export in terms of the probable growth from a medium-term perspective. Possible to also talk about domestic, given the trends we are seeing, whether it is residential, commercial, or ready-made furniture, etc. What kind of growth at the industry level one could look at and for the company from a let's say a 2 or 3 year perspective?
Actually, domestic markets I think will also grow, and in domestic we have I think 2 significant opportunities. One is just the market growing and we growing with the market. The other is the formalization of the market where we have a large number of smaller producers who are increasingly becoming inefficient in terms of their business model. So this potential shift from unorganized to organized, I think that's also an important opportunity we think companies like us have. So I think doing again now value is not so critical because prices only gone up by 10%, 12%. So saying I'll grow 10% value means only price rises happen. So probably my guess is this year the growth percent could be higher, right? But eventually on a normalized run rate, I think 10-12% growth is something one can expect.
Sorry, I think I'm a bit confused. So you think 10 to 12% is the revenue growth from medium-term perspective? How much would be
on a normalized basis where you don't factor in price increases? If price increases get factored, depending on the base year, then the growth will be higher for that particular year. But eventually, assuming that prices won't fall further or fall marginally if RM cost comes down, a steady state 10-12% growth is something one can expect.
And of this 10-12%, or 2% will be price increases, or it could be much more than that?
No, this is without price increase. I'm saying 10-12% growth. So if you add price increase,
okay, without price increase, that is the volume growth you're talking about. Okay, sorry, my bad, sir. Okay, understood. And secondly, what is the contribution for us from the south region? Because we understand from our appliances companies that south is actually seeing far major impact in the quarter gone by and even as we speak. So just thought of checking what is our exposure in South as a percentage of total domestic business, and are you also seeing a difficulty in terms of the momentum?
Actually, we're not seeing a difficulty in percent, and we just have it on our screen. The mix hasn't got altered, in any meaningful manner, and South remains our largest market, and with our excellent supply chain warehousing network we have, even in the lockdown period, several OEMs, people producing kitchen wardrobes, sites were still ongoing, and I think we were one of the few companies which could maintain supplies, to customers. So we are not experiencing that, or maybe our base is so small that it's not showing up.
And what would be our mix of the total domestic? How much would be South?
I have to ask the CFO if I'm supposed to say that or not. So I think Ashok will connect with you separately on that.
Okay, understood. Sorry, you were saying something, Ashokji?
Ashokji. Pardon? No, I was saying that
I'll come back to you. We don't have the figure as of now in hand.
Sure.
Come back.
No problem, sir. No problem. And just, one more question I had, more on a macro front, in terms of these exports opportunity, I recall last time around you had said, we really don't compete against China in terms of the product segment which we are, kind of exporting. So are things getting better from a competitive intensity perspective? Like we are as the country, we are getting more benefited from this momentum?
So our competition communication which we had remains the same. That has not changed, right? And when you say country competitiveness, yes, I believe that as a country, we probably have already become, and this will only get stronger going ahead, that we become one of the strongest countries in the world in producing high pressure laminates and shipping it world over, because the cost of setting up new manufacturing facilities globally is extremely, the mathematics is completely different versus what it can happen in India with trained people, already a large domestic market. So yes, I think India as a country will become increasingly stronger, will gain competitive advantage in producing and exporting of laminates.
Understood. And sorry, I'm just kind of delving into it a little bit more. So you talked about the setting up facility, the capex part of it, and the opex. I wanted to check what would be the ballpark. I mean, I know it's hard to say for any country, but ballpark, would we be like cheaper by 25-30% in terms of capex and in terms of the operating cost?
So capex surely will be cheaper by maybe even higher. On operating costs, it depends on the size of plant, operating also manpower will clearly be lower cost. RM, there will not be much gap besides, depending on the size of the product you're producing. For larger size laminates, RM costs will be same or probably will be slightly more expensive. But yes, manpower, overheads, larger production base, I think all that will add value on the operating part, and even the working capital cycle management could be superior. But like we said in the past, the focus is not being the cheapest or the most competitive in manufacturing only. It's also about building a brand, building a distribution network, working with architects, creating demand for the product. So I think that's where I think companies like us are, and we've been working on that for several years already. So our direction is not just to be the cheapest producer. It's to be obviously produce efficiently, but more to market the brand, create a global brand, create more demand for the product, get your product specified. So it's on the demand side and the market side where we think more value can get created, Achal.
Sure, this is very helpful, sir. Thank you so much. I'll come back in with you if there is anything. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to the management for their closing comments. Over to you.
So thank you, everyone, and thank you for your time and your queries. And really appreciate your intelligent questions. And Ashok will get in touch with you for those unanswered questions or the dialogues he needs to have with you. Thank you once again for your time. Please be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, members of the management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Greenlam Industries Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.